How do you view like the energy of the rock and roll, and how does that come forward, right? I think to me, AI will never be able to create that, right?
Phil,
hi.
Thanks for chatting.
Yeah, of course, my pleasure.
So you had a really cool talk. Talked a lot about future and AI. So how should we as creatives think about AI?
I think AI should be viewed as a tool that we can leverage to help us tell better stories, right? I think everyone's afraid of AI because AI is one of these things that could potentially ruin a lot of lives, remove a lot of jobs. And I think if we look at it as an opportunity and not as a threat, right? Really, AI is just another tool, just like virtual production and ICVFX are tools to help us tell better stories and do more immersive things. And I think by that, I mean, help us understand how to tell better stories, not just tell them.
The job thing.
Yeah.
Because one of the examples you gave, this is how I felt too, where it's like, we'll enable like something that might have taken 10 people.
Yeah.
Like one person could do what a team of 10 would do. Which when you do that math, you're like, okay, well, 9 people seem to be out of work.
Yeah.
But then you're like, we're going to be making a lot more content and for a lot more platforms. So can you expand on like,
I look at it like there's 5,000 projects right now. There's 100 people doing 5,000 projects. There's 50,000 projects. We can do it with the same number of people. We can do it with less people, but we can, or more people that are spread across all those projects, right? And I think the core idea, probably if I had to put it into something a little more succinct, is that, look, right now you've got an iPhone, you probably have an iPad, you probably got a TV, right? Soon you're going to have devices everywhere. I've seen restaurants that have instead of wallpaper, they have digital wallpaper, right? People are going to make content for that. And they're going to have to have opportunities to tell stories in that kind of environment. They're going to be, I think, in the future, there are going to be a number of wearable devices that we have that have screens in them. And so now it's not just about telling stories in a 16:9 format or in VR. It's about connecting all those things. So we're having a truly seamless experience. When you put down your phone, you get to transition that experience into another medium, right? And I think I look at that going, well, like that's a huge opportunity. We're going to need hundreds and hundreds more artists working on those projects, right? So how do we make them more efficient so that we can spread that load across all the work that needs to get done? And to me, it's supply and demand, right? It's increased demand. It means we need to have more people doing that work and we have to get more efficient, right?
And I mean, platform wise too, is it just like, cause it's like, there's only a finite amount of hours that like Netflix or someone wants to program. And so you're saying it's going to be also for like Apple Vision Pro or whatever.
Yeah. Why shouldn't
immersive video platform?
Exactly. Why as a filmmaker shouldn't I make something that's 16:9, but then also at the same time record it with volumetric cameras, right? And give that volumetric experience as a thing you buy, or like the gentleman earlier asked, subscribe to, right? For your Apple Vision Pro or your Meta Quest, and then give people the tools to decide how they're going to experience that story, right? But someone's going to do all that work, right? That isn't just going to magically happen, right? Like, some level it should magically happen, of course, and we should have tools. Like I said, transmedia ecosystems I think are super important, but we should be thinking about transmedia first. But I think that's still a huge demand. Someone's going to have to go through that volumetric video and make sure that all of the data is there appropriately, make sure that they are breadcrumbing so that the viewers know where they're going to actually be able to watch the videos from, right? And how do you encapsulate even like a UI in that kind of space where you're changing the lens or you're saving bookmarks of where you want to go, right? Someone's got to build all that and really think about it. And to me, it's creating one experience that can be used in so many different ways. And in some cases tells different stories depending on how it's used.
And that we might be using AI to leverage accelerating the creation of these stories, these assets, whatever we need to make it.
100%. I think, I think the low hanging fruit, right, is AI that can help us make an asset, or we make an asset and we give it to an AI, some kind of algorithm, it's machine learning algorithm that goes, oh, well, here's the game ready asset. Here's the VR ready asset. Here's the high quality asset. And I think that's like, for me, it becomes a bit, I don't say reductive because it sounds negative, but I think that is the lowest hanging fruit. I think the AI should be building tools like with the example I'll use is the city example from before, right? You're wearing your VR headset, you're watching a cityscape and you're just flying through the city. And what you don't know is that someone has told the story about a car chase happening three blocks over and you have no idea it's happening, right? So how do we create a tool that can iterate through that experience and then give storytellers warnings like, hey, someone's missing your entire story. You need to do something.
Some learnings of like game design.
Exactly.
Like, how do you direct someone who's moving in a 3D world? Like tell them where to go without telling them where to go.
Exactly. Sign painting, right? Like, exactly. And I think AI can help us identify those things. It can't always solve those problems in ways that I think are meaningful in doing justice to the creative intent, right? So I think build the AI ML tool that says, hey, like there's a problem over here. We can't quite see what's going to, like your user Voyager is not going to be able to really understand what's going on. Probably you need to do something over here. And then you or one of those 10 creators who are working on the project, right, get to go, oh, hey, through a flag, we should probably think about how we're going to solve this and what's the creative intent behind it. I think to me, that is the goal for the next generation of tools.
Yeah. And can you tell me more about the vision of a camera in the future that incorporates machine learning and AI and how you see that playing out?
Yeah. I really believe that on set, filmmaking in particular, we will get to a point where we are, instead of having big LED volumes, right, like we have now, we're going to use off-screen, higher quality LED with the goal being that we're getting better skin tone, better lighting, but we also have better visualization for the talent. And that the entire process, not just the camera, but also the recording devices and the monitors and an array of tools that are all potentially ML empowered, right? You know, the example being you're shooting on a rainy day, but you really need it to be sunny out, right? You go in, you go, I need this to be sunny. And you give the machine learning a whole bunch of different parameters and negatives and additions, and it goes, okay, no problem. And it effectively changes it to a sunny day.
Your vision in real time. This is
in real time. It's happening
so
in
like
real time.
Now, like, oh, you know what? I don't need this colorful backdrop. I want to look like we're in a cabin or something.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's happening in real time.
But we're still filming with real people, real actors.
Still filming with real people.
Using the camera to put it somewhere else.
Exactly. And will there be
no green screen, no volume?
And no green screen, no volume. Still use of technology and still use of LED, right? I think there will still be reasons to go to volumes, right? But ultimately, LED volumes are, and ICV effect is a tool in the tool bag, and this will be another tool in the tool bag. Is I forgot to get that pickup shot. We're on this set, but we really need to be the other set. Can we just get a quick, thing going? And it's not going to work in all examples, right? If you have to do a really long run and gun hallway, but you're pressed up against a wall, no matter how much you type, I want that wall to be a long hallway. It'll look right, but you don't have the room to navigate, right? Yeah. You may not have the rigging to do big stunts, right? And I think, you kind of alluded to it. There are going to be AI characters. I think we don't avoid that, right? But at the end of the day, I think people feel real humans better, right? Like we feel more humans in a genuine way. And I think, I use the Uncanny Valley example, right? We talk about the Uncanny Valley as, like for most people, it's you look at another person or thing that's supposed to represent a person, and it's just like a couple degrees off left or right. And you as a human know immediately that it's not a real human, right? And there's so much work has gone into, can we recreate real humans? But like, that's just one example of the Uncanny Valley. Like stories also have Uncanny Valleys. Like you can tell when a story isn't written by a real person. You can often how many people now are reading through papers and go, ChatGPT wrote this paper,
or even
right?
the Willy Wonka experience with the unknown, the
a great example.
Yes,
a great example of we're close, and we will get closer, right? But there's still something I think genuinely human about people doing things together and having this conversation and being able to feed off that energy, right? And I think the energy, and one of the people in the audience asked the question, right? How do you view the energy of the rock and roll, and how does that come forward, right? I think to me, that is exactly it. It's AI will never be able to create that, right?
Right.
And the art not anytime soon.
Experiencing the same story, because that was another thing you touched on too. And I've heard this before, where it's people in the future are going to be I want to watch a TV show about this storyline, and that always struck me as if you make a video that's experienced just for yourself, you lack the whole zeitgeist of hey, did you watch that show? Did you watch Game of Thrones? Did you watch Tokyo Vice? What do you think of that?
You can't talk to anyone about it, right?
Yeah, because it was just made for you.
It's just for you, yeah.
But expand on, you gave an example where you're that will exist, but it's not the only thing that's going to exist.
Yeah, I think people want choice more than anything. I think, and it's a little complicated, because I think people want choice, and then at some point there's so much choice they can't navigate it. And so a lot of, I think, the AI tools will actually not be around providing the choice. They'll be around helping us navigate what we want and how we get to it I think the example I'll use is YouTube, right? Like it's something like they say like 99% of the content on YouTube will never be viewed, right? It's like people uploading videos of their grandmother, people uploading videos of them driving their car down the road, right?
Streaming game,
yeah, like people just like never watch, like completely unwatched, not even a single viewer. Like YouTube is a massive repository of stuff that people don't watch because it can't be navigated in a meaningful way that we can understand. It's got a text prompt. You can type in a text prompt. You can search for genres. But I think once you have something that understands human language much better, talking to an AI going, hey, I'm really feeling this today, but also it's connected to something and it saw you do something earlier today and it saw you do this thing earlier today and it goes, oh yeah, maybe you want to watch, here's 10 examples of things that no one has seen before that are here that we can share with your friends that are relevant because your friend did X, you did Y today, and like they're related through the lens of comedy, right? Yeah. And I think that's really where we should be building the tools is navigation, parsing through all the information, managing the red flags of one of the stories not right.
Last one, a lot of the stuff we talked about is sort of like 10 years from now, maybe. What are you looking at the next like year or two on the horizon?
Good question. Okay. So over the next I'm going to go 2 or 3 years because I think nothing can really get done. It's May.
I mean, there could be another like Sora announcement tomorrow and then we're like, it's accelerating faster than we thought again.
I think we're going to see in the next 2 or 3 years, instead of language models, physics-based models that understand physics in a way that I think is really novel. I think most people think about Sora, right? They think about generative AI creates video. Well, what about when generative AI can understand ray tracing? And what about when generative AI can understand the physics of a ball bouncing, right? You can say, simulate this ball bouncing. I think we'll see that.
Big thing of the paper too, where they're like, it kind of modeled the world. And that was part of the reason why we have like occlusion and it worked better than anything we've seen so far. It works
better, but it's still based on what does the image itself look like? And you can't say to it, I want you to throw a ball at 300 meters a second from this height and model the physics of it, right? Like it'll do something, but it won't do something that's physically accurate, right? I think we'll see more of that. And that'll be really cool for a lot of people who are working, I think, in simulation and healthcare. That's 2 or 3 years. I think honestly, even in the next year and a half, markerless motion capture. Like we're going to see huge innovations in markerless motion capture, leveraging AI and the ability for AI. I think, we're kind of already seeing it with Sora, right? Way better at identifying and building humans than even we were a year ago, where people had extra hands or two legs coming out of one leg or 4 ears, right? And like, I think markerless motion capture will end up leveraging AI ML specifically to get better and faster at tracking humans in a meaningful way. That I think is that's the next year for sure.
Cool. Well, thanks a lot, Phil.
Yeah, you're very welcome. My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Awesome.
Thank you.